Hi guys, hope you're all keeping well. Still in lockdown over in the UK, but I've got a lot of projects on the go, as you know. Um, I have a little break from the truck at the moment. I've got it back from the painters, and I'm waiting to put that back together. And I've got the light kit. Well, I'm having a bit of trouble getting reversing lights to work on it, but at last I got it back from the painters, so we're going to have a look at that. But while I've been waiting, I've gone back to my Robbe laser powered 4-stroke helicopter, vintage from 1996, I believe it was. The engine numbers I can't really remember now, but I've actually got the engine all bolted in now and it's all Loctite. The carburetor's on. I think I showed you the manifold I made. That's on, which is here. Trevor from Midland Helicopters kindly gave me a selection of silencers, and I think this is a cylinder pipe, and I managed to fit that in there quite nicely today. I've had to make some spacers. If you can, this belt's a pain. If you can see, I've made a spacer that clips in to the mount in there, and I've made two spacers each side to get it level with this. Now this is a bit of silicone pipe that goes in here. Whether that's going to take what this engine's going to do to it, I don't know. But it is quite a thick piece that goes in there. I could put a brace on here, I guess, but there's always something I can do with there. The hardest bit was to make this manifold, you know, the bending and the stuff like that, and it's all been sort of brazed, you know, silver solder, so it should be strong, because I wanted this exhaust to go on the back because it looks pretty cool, and it's a nice big volume exhaust. It should be fairly quiet, hopefully. I mean, the lasers are not a noisy engine anyway, but the only weak link that I can see in this is this connection here, but it's very tight in there, and it's very it's a thick kind of bit of tube, but whether that is going to last, I don't like the colour either, but it serves a purpose. Now, the only other thing I could do with that would make a different type of fitting that when it goes on, but this actually does go straight. When it comes up here, it goes straight, so I could make a different fitting, or we even could put like a little screw through there if I needed to, but we'll see how that goes, because I want to run the engine up before I do much more. I put a pressure nipple in it today, but this is very thin, really thin stainless steel, I believe it is anyway, so I might have to brace that in, because I tapped it and I just nipped it up, but you know, I don't think that's going to stay in there, even though it's got thread lock on it. So it was just where I was going to put the pipes, and I wanted to see where they go. Now, I've got a brand new one of these belts. I thought, oh, I'll put that on, but it's shorter than this one. My boom, I think I measured as 660 centimetres. I think 26 inches, something like that. Now, I only looked at the boom tonight because, you know, and, you know, it's got a bit of damage on the end of it. It's probably got the long boom on it because of the R22 body kit that's on it, which is still sitting in grey primer, I should say. Yeah, I think it's, you know, it looks damaged on the ends. This is the end that goes in the heli. And I sort of rolled it around tonight, and I believe it's bent as well. Now, you know, these are almost impossible to straighten. I'll see how bad it is, because it only has a belt running through it, but I've seen on Midland Helicopters, Trevor's got a few tail booms, but I wasn't sure what the size was. I've seen a few come up on eBay, but they're a lot shorter than this. So this has got the long belt and the long tail boom. And the other bit I'm missing, which I thought I'd ordered off from somewhere in Italy, but then after a 6-week wait, they actually told me that they didn't have it, which was quite good. It's this little part here. Now this is the tail shaft. I thought I'd lost this bit, but I've actually found it all again. But the guy, you know, I believe the guy actually crashed this on the last flight, because I've had to straighten the main shaft. The main, you know, I explained to him what the, you know, how the main shaft works. It's got like a ratchet system on it. But there was like these little bits of brass that were sort of pushed in here, and it had a bolt right through the lot. Only an old, I don't know, it was just a terrible looking bolt that went through here, and 2 bits of brass pushed in there. Now when I looked at the drawing, it looked like it's just kind of 2 parts that go in there, like they're moulded in there. Now I'm not certain how that kind of all goes together, but I don't think it was these 2 little thin bits of pipe. They've only been hacksawed off, you know. So I did have a part number for it, and I shall give Trevor a ring or shoot him an email and see if he has got one of these. If not, I'll have to make something up. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll have a look at the drawing and try and make something up. And it's also got a crack in it through there. I don't know if you can see that. I don't think you can. There's a little crack in there, but I believe the plastic is only like a case. I think there's actually steel inside it, so I'm not sure. But I've got to look into that big time, because that's, you know, you can't fly without. So they're the bits, you know, that really is the only bit I'm kind of missing. And I would like a new belt. I've cleaned it up the best I can. You know, it's all right, but you know, it's going to be quite a valuable helicopter when it's finished, and you know, you don't want to bin it just because you couldn't get a belt for it. So I'll have a number with Trevor again if he can dig something out for me. And the tail boom, if I can get a new tail boom, that would be nice. Now, going back to the let's put this away. Going back to the tail, the main shaft, I actually fitted all the main shaft. I actually got a new. They've got a very strange kind of one-way. It's not a one-way bearing. They run this. It's like a ratchet type thing. If I can find it in here, here it is. Now, I managed to get, from Trevor, I got a new one from Midland Helicopters. And what you've got is in the bottom, there's a lot of bits make up that main shaft that goes from the top to there. And what they've got is, this is on the bottom and it's driven, and you can see the shape of that. So you've got 2 little, in the upper part that swivels, you've got 2 little sprung loaded pins. So when it drives, it pushes, it'll be around that way. It goes against that face there, so it pushes that round, so that turns the blades. And then when it freewheels, they just ride over that. So it goes click, 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 and it just rides over that. I mean, maybe they didn't sort of realise back in the day, you know, a one-way bearing would have been quite nice in there. But I don't want to change it. I will leave this one as it is. I normally mess about changing things, but I think that'll be okay. It's got hardened pins that run on it. I've got new springs in it. I've got a new one of these. I've got the new bearing block. Where is that? I don't think it's in here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you can see that's where the pins go, and them 2 holes there. So that actually runs in there. So as that turns, it locks one way and it freewheels the other way. But I've got a new one of these. I got it for a good price. So all this lot in here is all brand new. So I built all this part up. I put the main gear on there and I bolted it all together and everything. And what do you think happened when I turned the main shaft? Yes, main shaft was bent. And I don't know what it's made of. It looks like silver steel, but it's definitely been heat treated, because I've straightened out a few shafts. It's quite it's quite an art to do it. You have to bend kind of into the bend and then go along a bit and bend it out again and all that kind of thing. It takes a while. But I use a dial test indicator on my lathe, and I've got that running within 05, so that's a good, it's really nice and true. But I'll tell you, I had to really you have to put paper around it so you don't damage it, and you clock it up and you have to like hit it you know, into the bend, out of the bend, and you go all the way down, and you keep going up and down till you actually get it like dead straight, which, you know, I'm quite happy with that. That is, you know, 05 is good enough for me. So I've done that. I put that all back in. Now the strange thing I've got on this is I bought a new fan shroud. Now I'm not sure if these fan shrouds are different, because I don't know if you can see, but the cone start is not in the centre of this shroud. Now, whether there was different ones for different helicopters, whether they, I know there's a Mosquito Basic, XXL or something else. There's a few different models, so it all fits nice on there. And the engine has got to be in the centre line like they were with a two-stroke. So I can't really see why that is off-centre like that. If anyone can tell me, just shoot me a mail. Let me know down below. Because, you know, to me, it doesn't look right. And there's nothing I can do about it. That all goes on how it's supposed to go. Now, we've got the metal fan in there. And to actually fit most of that on there is, I wouldn't say Heath Robinson, but it's not a good setup really. There's kind of like a, how can I call it? There's a shaft that goes through there, and it's got a larger diameter on it, which locates the clutch. Now, on all the two-strokes, they have, like you do on most two-stroke engines, they have a collet with a taper on it, so they can lock it up tight, fine. On this, it doesn't. It just locks up on the bearings, so there's no like grip or anything on there whatsoever. And if you watch my first videos when I got this, the amount of Loctite that was on this to hold it all on is incredible. It took me hours and hours to get it undone, and a lot of heat, and you know, it was an absolute nightmare. So I didn't want to go back to that routine. So I've kind of modified the way the shaft goes onto the engine. It had like a very thin wool sleeve that went into it, and that was actually locking up against the bearing face of the engine. Now, I kind of didn't really like that, and you couldn't, once the engine was together, you couldn't really lock the engine up. Now, I didn't want to use a piston stopper like some people do, because I was looking at the other piston out of this engine. I think if you remember that it was damaged, and I got a feeling it was done because of the guy who tried to do this up tight, because it kept coming off, has actually put a piston stopper in there, and it damaged the piston itself. And I thought it was like a heat or a seizure or something like that, but I believe there's a big mark in the top of the piston. So I think the guy did actually try and lock the engine up to do this up, you know, tight, because it's really awkward to do it up. You've got no collet, it locks up. So when you try and style it, you're going anti-clockwise, which we'll want to try and turn everything off it. So what I did, instead of having that small thin walled sleeve at the bottom, I made a longer one that locks up on the bottom of this thread here. This is a 1/4 UNF thread on the end of the engine. And so I've made it come through there tight. And what I did was I took the front of the engine, because on these lasers, the crank comes out and it's on the front of the engine. So I took that out, set it all up, put it all together, and I put a small bit of Loctite on the thread, and I put the crank in the lathe, and I put a nut in the thread here, or a bolt, and I've done it up as tight as I dare without actually snapping the crankshaft, you know. So then I let it dry overnight, and I unscrewed the bolt out of here, and then I've put it all together. Now, I don't know why this is offset, and there's not a lot of meat to get a starter on there. I don't want to, you know, move with the starter and damage the fan cover. So what I'm thinking of doing is making up a 1/4 UNF hexagon bolt to go in there. See if I can lock it in there, and then I'll be able to use my line starter to go in there and fire it up from a wand, which will be a lot easier and a lot better. We've got the alley fan in there, I'm hoping that that's going to be enough cooling. I've got a shroud. A mate of mine made me up a shroud because the shroud that went in there was, I think, to aid the cooling, because I think it overheat, and it was made of stainless steel. It was really heavy, so I got a mate of mine to make me up a nice alley one. It's, you know, it don't weigh nothing, but I was looking at it last night, and it actually blocks off half of this here, and it directs the air just sort of onto the barrel. Now I know that's good, but it was blocking this off completely, you know. It was like 20 mil, something like that. So I'm going to try without it, and if I have overheating problems, I might try and pull it back or try and find some other way, because I know it's going to run hot. I'm going to try and get some kind of sensor on there so I can sort of gauge how hot the engine's getting, because it's doing a lot of work, you know. I mean, you know, when you think how the two-stroke revs, you know, it's probably twice the amount of revs of what this is doing. And I still kind of really would like to change the gearing in this, you know. If you could get a smaller gear on now, I'm sort of looking around for something now. I'm getting it together, but that gear's easier to change, and the clutch one, not so easy. But if I can get like a bigger pinion on the clutch bell and a smaller one of these like spur gears, I think we'd be in business, because it's a 70 engine. It's not very high revving, and I'm still sceptical it's just going to get off the ground. You know, you know, people have told me that it is, and you know, I'm going to try it first. But the answer to this helicopter lies in here, and I think I'm going to keep looking for a smaller spur and try and change the clutch bell. Now, clutch bell, I bought a metal clutch bell because I don't know if you can see the teeth on these are like razor blades. It's had a lot of flying. They are absolutely, you know, they're gone. And I think the extra little bit of weight with the fan, metal fan, this cone, and the metal fan, not fan, clutch bell and everything will give it a little bit of weight to sort of tick over, because Midland Helicopter said that they used to run like a brass fan, or you know, well, I've actually seen one on their site, but it's for another helicopter apparently, and it's colossal money. So if worse comes to worse, I'll put behind there. I'll make up a brass sort of like a weight, like a thin sort of flywheel or something like that behind there. But like I say, we're just going to try it as it is, you know. So that is that. Now, like I say, this is a really nice wash plate I got with it. I've cleaned it all up as smooth as you like. It's quite an expensive item in its day. All the links seem quite, you know, to work quite well. I fixed the throttle up to see how that's working. So this really is an Irving Jetstream carburettor that Laser fitted. I think they started off with a Super Tiger, and then they went on to this carburettor, which is a Jetstream, an Irving Jetstream. They're, you know, good carburettors. Everyone says that these engines don't keep tune and stuff like that. Well, I don't think it'd be because of the carburettor. I think it'd be because of the heat or something like that. Now, obviously, when you got this helicopter, whether you bought this as a kit, this package of the engine and carburettor and linkage and all that, I don't know, because it's quite a neat little setup we've got here with this obviously goes to the servo, and that's going to work the throttle. So you've got like, right, so we've got the servo will operate this arm here, and that will operate the throttle. So that's quite, and it's all ball race. It's a little carbon fibre blocks on there with some flange ball races, and it actually works really well. That's kind of really nice. That the engine is fully rebuilt, as you know, with new piston bearings, and I've got the proper clamps on there. and I bought new O-rings to go, because they sort of push in with an O-ring and then you lock these down. This is all very solid now. You know, it's really, you know, I shouldn't have any problems with the exhaust, because the other guy's exhaust was out here with a bit of flexi pipe and it looked like it had been blowing oil over the helicopter, you know, every time he flew it. I know these engines are not particularly oil tight, because, you know, they're just pushed in there with a clamp. You know, it might surprise me, I don't know, but there's all new O-rings in the pushrod tubes. There's tiny, they don't use gaskets in the laser engines. There's just a tiny smear of high temperature silicone that I use. So, you know, I also put a tiny little bit of thread lock on the bolts, because a couple of them at the front, I can't see it from them, but a couple of them on the front of the engine, one of them was kind of really wobbly in the thread. The guy tried to put washers on there and this, that and the other. And I managed to drill the hole a little bit deeper and get a bit more thread in it, because they're like all BA sizes. And I managed to get a bit more thread in here, so I've just put a little bit of Loctite on all the screws. So that there now is kind of ready to run the engine up. So I'm going to put the throttle servo in there, and then we're going to give it a run up and just see how she runs, because I'm quite interested on, you know, before I go any further and put all the radio in, I'm just going to see how it runs. But I've got to sort the tail boom out as well, so I've got to do that first. But the other thing I did is I put a new bit of tube on the clunk, and I cleaned the clunk up, because it was quite, you know, when they go green with old fuel, and I think that the clunk is actually brass, I don't know, but it's got all funny colours. So it's a real strange way of doing this, because if you look, if you kind of look at where that goes in, I've put a big washer behind there, but behind this, and it goes into the tank, there was a rubber washer behind there. And I thought, well, how do I get all this out of here? Because the hole was just like the thread size. Well, I know how you do it now, and I know why this piece here is, well, this piece here is like screwed on. So what you do, well, what I did was I got a really thin piece of piano wire. I'll get in the picture right. I put a thin piece of piano wire. You can see the clunk in there. Yeah, there it is. So I put a piece of piano wire and I put it up the clunk and through the tube and out of the outlet hole there. So then you push the whole lot in, and you push the lot in, so you got it on a wire, and it just follows the hole, and you just put it through into there. It's quite simple, really. But it took me a little while to work out what I was going to do with that. I thought, well, someone's put that in there, so, you know, I've taken it out and I can put it back. So I've not disturbed these ones because they look quite good. But what I've done, I put a silicone O-ring behind this one because the O-ring was quite damaged. So there's quite a nice little O-ring behind there, and I just nipped it up, not too tight. So hopefully this will be right. I think I've seen these on Midland site as well. I'm not sure. But the main thing I'm missing is that tail rotor shaft, and then we can sort of like do a bit more. But it's quite an interesting little project. If I can get a new belt, that'd be nice, and if I can get a tail boom, it'd be nice. But if I can't, it's not the end of the world. This is me gear case. That's all. Looks like it's in good nick. So that can have a clean up and go back on. This was the plastic fan, and I actually almost melted it when I was trying to get the clutch mount apart. You know, it was so much Loctite on there. You know, and I had to put heat on it. There's no other way to get that off. And not knowing, you know, I didn't have a manual how it all come apart, but I thought the Loctite. But I don't know what the guide used, but it was almost impossible to get that off. I'm hoping if I've just put a small little bit on the thread, I should be able to undo it again with a little bit of heat, and it's all sort of metal now, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So that's that. We've got, oh, this might be interesting. There's a really strange flybar setup. It's got a couple of ball races on it. It's got thrust races, which is, which is nice. So we've got the thrust races there. And believe it or not, the grips hold on with them screws. Who am I to doubt that that's going to work? But it's a little bit a bit scary. The grips look okay, but I'm just wondering how bent that is. I mean, it's a pretty thick, I think it's 6mm main shaft. So, but like, I'm sure this guy has had a bump the last time we run it because, most of it's bent. Tail boom, the main shaft was bent. So I'd imagine this might have a little set in it as well. So I might even have to make one or try and straighten this one out again. I'm sure they're sort of semi-hardened because, if that was the actual main shaft here, if that was a bit of silver steel, I could have straightened it really easy, but it wasn't. It was really springy, So they've been heat treated somehow, So if I make one, it's not going to be as strong. So I'm going to try and use that one. I've got my receiver back, what I got off my mate today, so we've got that. So I've got like all the bits here. I can start putting like all the, I think that's a pitch lever and stuff like that. Got lovely push rods. I mean, they're massive, I don't know whether they're stainless or whatever, but they're like big. I think they're 3mm, quite nice. So that is sort of where I am. I actually bought a new one of these as well. I didn't really need to, but that's very similar to how the clutch fits on as well. But that's all part of the one-way setup on the main shaft. So, that's where I am with that. I've got a few other bits I've got to clean up. And I mean, these are like weights, so to say, to make it stable. But they're, I don't know if you can see, they're sort of swaged out a little bit, whether I can make some new ones. I don't know whether it's worth having a go at doing that. But, that shouldn't be a problem. So that's where I am with that, guys. I'm still working on the Aprilia, believe it or not. And I took the Bodywork. I didn't take it. I phoned up a guy who I was recommended to paint the bodywork for me. And I sent him some photos and stuff like that. And he was looking to charge me over, £1,000 to do it. And I don't think he really wanted to do it because he said he'd rather work on like damaged, like, what can you say? Not new panels, but like factory panels that haven't been painted. Like mine's been painted, I would imagine, a few times. So you've got to strip all that paint off, and then you've got to sort of fix the damage on it. There's not cracks in it, but where it mounts onto the frame, there's a big hole in there. So anyway, cut a long story short, I've ended up starting to prepare the panels myself. Now, I reckon there must have been like 3 coats of paint on them fairings on the side panels. And one coat, you think you're through, and you think, oh, I'm through with plastic, but there's like another 2 coats to go. And one of the side panels, I actually had to pick the paint off. A mate of mine gave me like a little razor blade type thing, and it was like getting wallpaper off the wall. I was just shredding it off like that, to get the paint off. So then I rubbed that down, and it came down to like a black and a white sort of finish, and I thought that was the plastic. But no, you go a bit more, and it goes through to like a light grey colour, which is the plastic. But anyway, I spent 3 days. I've done 2 side panels, and I've done the top of the fairing. And it's all nice and smooth. Obviously, a lot of different colours where it's had a bit of damage, been filled in and all that. But basically, it's not cracked through or anything like that, so it's good solid sort of bodywork. And I've been put off of buying the China one, so I'm going down the road of sort of working on this. And I sent the guy some pictures today of what I'd done, and he went, oh yeah, that's good, but really you want to go down to raw plastic. So I've got to carry on with them and take him down to raw plastic So I've got another kind of day's work to that, and it's very awkward because the plastic's sort of soft and it's very easy to sort of like, you know, I've got a flat sander, but it's very easy to sort of put a dent in the plastic, and you know, because the paint is quite hard. You know, I'm not looking forward to doing to that, but a guy wants some in raw plastic, so if it looks like I'm going to do damage, then I'll leave it as it is, because I took it to another guy who does painting for me, who done my truck for me, and he reckoned that they would sort of primer up and then you could paint them and they'd be fine. But the other guy, who is supposed to be like a really good bike painter, put the decals on for me and all that kind of thing. You know, once it, you know, it's still going to charge me for doing it, but not for actually preparing it. I think I can get it done a lot cheaper if I can prepare it myself, because that's where the time is, you know. It is a time-consuming job, you know. But like I say, the panels are good, and hopefully, when the warmer weather comes, because like today I wanted to do a bit more sand and I couldn't do it because it's been pouring the rain all day, so I've been working on the helicopter. So, you know, I'm quite pleased with how much progress I've made, and everything's kind of going together quite well on this, so I'm quite happy with it. So, like I say, next thing I'm going to do is see if I can get it up and running. You know, maybe put the tail boom on it just loosely and just have a little run, see how the engine sounds, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to sign out now, guys. Look after yourself, keep safe and well. I'm waiting, you know, for my 4-cylinder touring engine to turn up. I see Dennis Dempsey is getting on with his drift car he's making. So there'll be a few more 4-cylinder engines out there. Apparently, like I said before, they're having a bit of trouble with the piston rings, but they've delayed the delivery to me, so hopefully they'll get that sorted out for me. And they've got a new a 4-into-1 starter, a glow igniter, which will be quite interesting to review and see how that goes. So hopefully, maybe next video I'll have it, I don't know. But I'll do a bit more progress on here, and maybe do a little bit of video on the Aprilia fairings, you know, because it's quite time consuming to do. But, you know, I wish I had my own sort of spray shop or something and I could do it myself, but I only work out of a garage, and when I spray stuff in here, all my models get covered and my motorbikes get covered in dust and all that, so it's a bit of a no-no really. So anyway, guys, not going to keep waffling on, and so, like I say, look after yourself, keep safe, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later, guys.